Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Ida, and I'm the founder of Fungitopia.org, which is an online platform dedicated to sharing the potential of fungi and their contributions to science, sustainability, and our everyday lives. So, in this webinar, we will talk about the often overlooked role that fungi play in maintaining healthy ecosystems and how fungi can be used to address important challenges like climate change and waste management. But before we start, I would love to know how familiar you are with fungi. Are you a beginner, an enthusiast, or someone who works with fungi professionally? Just please feel free to drop your answer in the chat. Whether you are a student or someone who's just curious about fungi, I know we have a lot to share, so let's get started. So in this session, we will talk about why fungi matter, how they're changing the world, and most importantly, how you can get involved in facilitating fungi's role and its impact. So I will first start by sharing how I became interested in fungi, and then next I'm going to talk about the diversity and functions of fungi in nature. Then we will focus on how fungi currently sustain life on Earth. And finally, we will conclude by exploring the ways in which fungi can shape our future and how each of us can contribute to this. So my journey with fungi started when I was a little kid, when I was around 6, and my family loved hiking. We often went out on guided tours with expert mycologists. I remember being fascinated by how diverse fungi were. And that just started a curiosity within me that has stayed ever since. Growing up in the Mediterranean era, I spent so much time exploring nature and outdoors, also noticing fungi basically everywhere on tree barks, forests, even on rocks. And when we moved to New England in the US, I got to see a whole new variety of fungi. In high school, I had the chance to work in a microbial ecology lab, helping with postdoc research that aimed to understand how fungi can be used to elevate soil, urban soil fertility. And that experience really opened my eyes as it showed me how fungi can be used to address current challenges like soil degradation in cities. I not only did research about fungi, but I also participated in hands-on experiments, including mushroom culturing, preparing growth mediums, counting spores, and that experience started even a deeper curiosity. Now, it was not just about recognizing fungi around me, but also learning more about their function and their role in nature. So in 2022, I started Fungitopia with the simple idea of sharing my mushroom hunting experiences and stories with other people. But as time went by, it evolved into something much more. Now I share news about fungi's role, um, breakthroughs, scientific discoveries, and I created a comprehensive resource list of institutions, publications, companies, and organizations about fungi. And this has been a really exciting journey for me. So I'm really happy to be here today sharing all of this information with you. So the world of fungi is sometimes called the Forgotten Kingdom, as does an article published by New York Times a couple months ago. So birds, animals, insects, plants all receive really wide interest and support, but the role of fungi is usually undervalued. So I first want to start with the idea that you see on the slide. The smallest organisms often make the biggest difference. Fungi remind us that nature's solutions are both innovative and sustainable. I think this quote is really meaningful because it captures exactly what makes fungi really unique and relevant to our lives. We usually pay attention to really flashy and ostentatious things, but it's actually the fungi that kind of works quietly underground and holds everything together. And these organisms don't just support life, they also encourage us to live more sustainably. Fungi are inspiring new materials to replace plastics. They create biofuels and they even help clean up pollutants from the environment. So as we go through this webinar, just keep this thought in mind. Fungi may be small, but their impact is really massive. So fungi are basically everywhere. They comprise a substantial proportion of life and biomass on Earth. So now let's explore what makes them really fascinating. So first off, fungi are eukaryotic organisms, which means that their cells have nuclei just like human cells. But what's really cool is that fungi belong to their own kingdom of life. They are not plants, they're not animals, they're definitely not bacteria. Fungi are entirely their own thing. And they were originally classified in the kingdom Plantae because they are really similar to plants in the way that they grow. They have firm cell walls like plants, and many exist alongside plants. These characteristics once led scientists to group them together with plants. But in 1969, a scientist, Robert Whittaker, he published the first revision to this two kingdom classification, just animals and plants. So in this revised version, he suggested that fungi should be classified as a separate kingdom, and this has been accepted by scientists. So one of the most recognizable features of fungi is their fruiting bodies, like mushrooms, and these are essentially the fungi's way of reproducing. They release spores, which are then spread by wind, water, and even animals. So like think of this as this like the seed dispersal system, but for fungi. They form more than mushrooms and molds. They can form earth stars, puffballs, crusts, brackets, cups, or even really tiny, strange microscopic structures. And as I said, then their spores are carried through wind, water, animals, so they can find new places to grow and begin their life cycle again. Another key thing about fungi is that they are heterotrophic. So unlike plants, they can't make their own food through photosynthesis. Instead, they absorb nutrients from the environment. And many fungi actually feed themselves by dissolving dead matter, breaking it down much faster than a bacteria can. Um, other grow Others can grow on bare soil, rock, or tree bark. They capture and grow around photosynthetic algae or cyanobacteria to become lichens. Fungi also adapted to survive in the most extreme environments on Earth. They live almost everywhere, from glaciers to ocean floor, tropical rainforests to urban environments or in compost. And closer to your home, fungi live in your washing machine or on your skin, or can attack your toenails. The Royal Botanical Garden Kew, which is located in London, estimate that 90% of fungal species across the world are currently unknown to science, and that we are losing them before we can even find them. So with an estimated 2.5 million species of fungi worldwide, we definitely need more funding for research and more trained mycologists so we can better understand fungi and identify which species are most at risk and need conservation efforts. So let's take a closer look at what fungi are made of. So most fungi are made of hyphae, which are like thin, thread-like structures. And these hyphae come together to form mycelium, which is like the underground foundation of a fungus. So isn't just a support structure. It's an important network that connects and sustains entire ecosystems. You might have heard it being called the wood wide web, and it really lives up to that name. Mycelium transfers nutrients between plants, helps them communicate or create a more resilient ecosystem. But here is something even cooler. Mycelium plays a key role in fungal reproduction. So when the mycelia of two compatible fungi meet, they can fuse together, which allows them to combine and mix their DNA. And after this, fungus can produce spores, and then these spores are dispersed. Um, and these spores can also form inside reproductive structures like in truffles, or outside in structures like mushrooms and crusts. Fungi also come in many forms. For example, mushrooms, yeasts, molds, and lichens. With an estimated 2.2 through um, 3.8 million species, fungi are incredibly diverse. So, okay, let's have a look at some of the mind-blowing fungal facts that you may not know. So, first up is that the largest organism on Earth is actually not a blue whale. It's a fungus known as the humongous fungus. This fungus in Oregon spans 2,385 acres, and that's roughly the size of 2,000 football fields. So it's really big. Here's another interesting fact. Fungi are actually more closely related to animals than plants because unlike plants, they can photosynthesize, and instead they absorb nutrients from their environment, much like animals eat food. Some fungi can also glow in the dark, and these are called the bioluminescent fungi. Even though the reason for this characteristic is not fully understood, scientists speculate that this glow might attract insects to help spread their spores. And mushrooms, they are super fast. Some species can grow overnight, doubling their size within just 24 hours. So if you spot a tiny mushroom in your backyard, don't be surprised if it became full size by the next day. So fungi have played a major role in shaping our world from medicine to environment. So one of the most impactful discoveries involving fungi was penicillin, which is the first antibiotic derived from the penicillium fungus. It was discovered by Alexander Fleming, and it revolutionized medicine and saved countless lives, especially during the World War II. Fungi play also a crucial role in plant health. So, in fact, 90% of plants depend on the mycorrhizal fungi because these fungi form mutually beneficial relationships with plant roots and help them absorb essential nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen from the soil. And then in return, the plants provide carbohydrates to the fungi. And this mutual relationship is a foundation for the health of forests, crops, and so much more. And let's not forget their role as nature's recyclers. Without fungi breaking down dead plant material, forests would be buried under a pile of undecomposed organic matter. So fungi decompose this material and then they return the nutrients back to soil, which keeps the ecosystems balanced and thriving. So I talked about its impact on medicine a little bit, but I want to dive into different examples. So, okay, let's start with cyclosporin. Cyclosporin is a fungal-derived drug, and it originates from the soil fungus called Tolypocladium inflatum. And discovered in the 1970s in Norway, this compound was initially studied for its antifungal properties. So it might sound a little counterintuitive that fungi have antifungal properties, but this is in fact the case for most fungi. Because there's so much competition in the environment, they feel the need to inhibit the growth of surrounding fungi so they can maximize their own to um, access to nutrients, water, and other things in the soil. So yeah, this was also the case for cyclosporin. They had antifungal properties. But then researchers soon realized that it had a unique ability to suppress the immune system without entirely shutting down. Um, well, they realized it had the unique ability to suppress the immune response without entirely shutting down the immune system. And this is really useful in organ transplant because when someone receives an organ transplant, their immune system recognizes the transplanted organ as a foreign substance and then it starts attacking it. And cyclosporin works by targeting specific immune cells and prevents the immune system from um, rejecting the transplanted organ while still allowing it to fight infections and other diseases. Another major breakthrough is statins. So statins are fungi-derived drugs that help lower cholesterol levels, and right now they're widely used to reduce the risk of heart diseases and heart attacks. Psilocybin is another one. This is a compound found in certain fungi and is currently being studied for um, its it is being studied as a treatment for mental health conditions like depression, PTSD, and anxiety. And early research shows that psilocybin-assisted therapy has the potential to provide really long-lasting relief where other treatments have actually failed. Fungi are not just important for medicine or ecosystems, but they are also a big part of what we eat and drink every day. So yeast, one of the most well-known fungi, is what makes bread rise by producing carbon dioxide during fermentation. And it's also responsible for fermenting beverages like kombucha, cider, and wine. And yeah, so without yeast, some of our favorite foods and drinks would not even exist. Then there are mushrooms, which have become a staple on many plates worldwide. Not only do they have nice flavor, but they are also a sustainable protein source. And growing mushrooms requires far less land, water, and energy compared to traditional livestock farming. So that kind of makes them an excellent choice for eco-conscious diets. Fungi are also leading the way in finding meat alternatives. Products like tempeh, which is made from fermented soybeans with fungal cultures, and corn, um, derived from a fungus called Fusarium venenatum, are providing delicious and also nutritious options for those who are aiming to reduce their meat consumption. So fungi are essential when it comes to soil health and the sustainability of ecosystems and agriculture. Especially after wildfires, fungi play even a more crucial role uh, because in burned ecosystems or landscapes, they act as first responders by breaking down charred organic matter and returning essential nutrients back into the soil. And this restarts growth and stabilizes the ecosystem. Fungi can also make a substantial contribution to tackling climate change. Mycorrhizal fungi transport carbon from plants into the soil, where it can be stored for the long term. And in fact, studies estimate that fungi are responsible for almost 70% of soil carbon storage globally. And this natural process directly reduces CO2 levels in the atmosphere. Fungi also play an important role in waste management thanks to their powerful enzymes like cellulases and lignases. And these enzymes allow fungi to break down even tough plant materials like cellulose and lignin more quickly than a bacteria can. And this rapid decomposition reduces the chance of organic matter accumulating in conditions that would possibly lead to methane production. And then there's a process called mycoremediation. Fungi are capable of breaking down toxic materials like oil spills and heavy metals, and thus they transform pollutants into less harmful forms and make contaminated environments safer for plants, animals, and people. So let's talk about the benefits of fungi across like different fields. So in the food and drink industry, as I mentioned before, fungi are useful in creating alternatives, like meat substitutes, or coffee and dairy alternatives. And all of these innovations are meeting the demand for sustainability, which has gained um, a big significance lately. Fungi are also really versatile in material science. Mycelium is being used to create eco-friendly leather, furniture, bricks, and insulation material. And these materials are not only biodegradable, but also require fewer resources to produce. Another important contribution of fungi is in space. So some fungi contain melanin, which is a compound that absorbs radiation and acts as a protective shield. And this is especially useful for astronauts who are exposed to radiation, so much radiation in space, which can possibly lead to diseases like cancer. So currently, researchers are exploring ways to incorporate melanin-rich fungal layers into spacecrafts or even as components of spacesuits. Then architecture is another important field where fungi are making an impact. Mycelium-based materials are being used to design sustainable buildings and structures, which offer not just a modern but also an eco-friendly approach to construction. And then finally, we have bioenergy. So fungi are used to develop batteries, bioelectronics, and sustainable biofuels. And these innovations can possibly revolutionize how we produce and store energy and also reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, which poses a big threat to environment. Okay, so now that we explored the world of fungi, let's talk a little bit about how you can take action and make fungi a part of your journey toward sustainability. So you can start with something really simple, like growing mushrooms at home. It's Believe me, it's easier than you think, and it's also really fun. Um, or start composting. Composting with fungi helps break down organic waste and reducing what ends up in landfills while creating nutrient-rich soil. Next, just learn more about fungi. There are so many resources out there, most of which I also included in my platform. Um, and the more you know, the more you will appreciate their role in the environment and everyday life. And then if you want to take this a step further, you can consider joining science initiatives or local mycology clubs. You can contribute to research by documenting um, local fungi, sharing your findings, or even participating in community projects. Another impactful way to help is to spread the word. So share what you learned today with your family, your friends, or even in social media. And raising awareness is really, um, it can inspire others to care about these organisms as well. And then finally, consider supporting fungi-based materials, like fungi-based um, food choices or just clothing in general. And choosing these options supports innovation and reduces your environmental footprint a great deal. So yeah, okay. So let's wrap up with some final thoughts. As I said, fungi are really powerful in addressing environmental challenges, but yet they are often overlooked. So this needs to change, and with our support, it will. Small actions like growing mushrooms at home or just starting a compost pile are great ways to begin. But habitats for many fungi continue to disappear due to new housing developments, intensive farming, tree planting, and transport infrastructure. And at the same time, fungi are seriously impacted by climate change and nitrogen pollution. So by raising awareness and collaboration, I believe we can further benefit from fungi's potential to shape even a more sustainable future for ourselves. I hope this webinar has sparked some curiosity, raised awareness, and encouraged all of you to explore more about fungi. Please follow me on fungitopia.org and also my social media accounts. In future webinars, I plan to dive deeper into specific topics, and these focus sessions will provide more detailed insights and practical takeaways for those who are eager to learn more about fungi and its power. So thank you again for joining me today.